All right, yes, indeed, it is once again time for another episode of the Kanika Sports Show, everybody. I am your host, Kenny, and I am joined on this St. Patrick's Day by my lovely co host. She's the one, the only, Nika, everybody.
Woohoo!
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Nika. May the luck of the Irish be with you.
Well, thank you. Where's your Irish accent with that? Come on.
It was half there, half out. We'll do a take two. Top of the morning to you, Nika. How is your Irish day starting?
Perfect.
All right, we got some corned beef, everyone, in the oven.
We do, but that's later.
That is later.
And
We're
I
gonna
hope-
breaky with that today, though.
That's right. We
And
will.
if you don't know what brekkie means, make sure you stay tuned to our extra innings segment at the end of this episode, so we can enlighten everyone. Thanks to Travis Bazana, everybody. We'll tell you all about it during our extra innings segment at the end of this podcast. But for now, boy oh boy, baseball is in the air on this St. Patrick's Day, Nika. We have a lot going on.
We do?
We have Cubs Dodgers. That's going to get underway tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. our time.
Wow.
And that is the first game of the 2025 season. It counts, everybody. I saw a tweet this morning that somebody said this is an exhibition. It is not. This counts.
So there's two games and they both count.
They both count. So this is really my hope for the Dodgers to lose both of these games because I just really want the MLB establishment knuckleheads on TVs. I want them to have to live with an 0-2 Dodgers start for like 10 days.
I
Because
wonder
the rest, actually, the season is now 10 days away from getting started for everyone else, and that's awesome. That's exciting. We are right around the corner from baseball, which means we've got a lot of spring training going on. This past weekend, we were treated to a bunch of spring breakout games. So, like, everyone had 2 or 3 games on the schedule between split squads and breakout games because the spring breakout was the prospects of all the top prospects for all the teams had their own game.
So I'm going to go back a little bit. Do you think they celebrate St. Patty's in Japan?
I don't know, but that's interesting because, I mean, it will be tomorrow there technically when the game happens.
No. I mean today, because I don't think they do, personally.
Well, it's not even St. Patrick's Day anymore. It's tomorrow. It's after midnight in Japan.
That's true.
So whether they did or not, I don't think they do, though.
I don't think so
No green ocean.
Yeah, that's Chicago, the River Green and all that BS. And well, not BS, all that.
Yes, but you remind me of a great Chicago movie, The Fugitive.
Oh.
Harrison Ford uses the the St. Patrick's Day parade to escape from Tommy Lee Jones at one point in the movie. It's a great escape plan to use the St. Patrick's Day parade. And I think we even get a shot of the Green River, as you mentioned. The Chicago River famously is dyed green on St. Patrick's Day. So if you didn't know, now you know, everybody.
It's a great movie. We should do a hold up on it.
Oh, yeah.
And the next question is, what's in the dye?
I don't know. Don't go swimming in it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to avoid skin cancer.
Oof.
Ugh.
Anyway,
Anyways,
moving on.
all right. Baseball's everywhere. St. Patrick's Day is everywhere. Are we going to see any green hats today? I think the White Sox traditionally have a green St. Patrick's Day hat. And, you know, Fanatics, they'll never miss an opportunity to sell something to people. So we'll see if we get any green hats out there this St. Patty's Day. I think we do every year, but I never remember spring training games enough. But, okay. There's the last thing, I guess, with spring training is that as it's winding down here with 10 days left before the season starts and, you know, everyone's going to get a day or two off before then, we're getting down to the end of it, and position wars and battles, those end of the roster spots are being decided for a lot of teams. So we'll be following that closely over the next week before Friday. I think we'll probably have a lot more news to report in this area, particularly with teams like the Padres, who did bring in a bunch of ragtag group of veterans and young players to compete for those bottom of the roster spots. And they got some tough decisions to make now because those guys showed out in spring, you know. A
Well,
lot
they're
of them played.
veterans.
I know, but a lot of them played well enough to probably deserve to make the team, and so we'll see what direction that they want to go in. I'll probably be very opinionated about this, but I want to remind everyone too that the 26 players that you wind up leaving spring training with are not necessarily going to be the same 26 players that you go into October with. And it's a long road to get there. And I think managers do know that. And it's important to just kind of keep the locker room and the clubhouse healthy at the start of the season. You know, like you don't want to maybe rock the boat now. So I bet we'll see managers and teams lean into veterans versus young players. But we also get to see guys like Matt Shaw, who's going to play for the Cubs, well, in less than 24 hours when he makes his debut. So you got to find that balance, and we've talked about it year after year, and there's tough decisions to be made across the board for a lot of teams. And it's going to be interesting to see what trends continue. You know, like we saw Jackson Merrill last year come onto the scene.
Action Jackson, and action is on the way.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I think, you know, the year before that, it was Corbin Carroll who kind of just came out of nowhere with that 25-50 season, 50 stolen bases. And before that, it was Julio and Bobby Witt Jr. And so the young players are impacting the game year after year after year. We're seeing it. And so I'm curious who those new guys are going to be, I guess.
Yeah, it seems that there's always one rookie or one up-and-coming player that elevates the game.
No doubt. I want to respond to you better and listen to you better. So I will. There is always going to be young players coming into the game, and we saw Jackson Churio last year. Even I said Jackson Merrill, Paul Skeens, you know, and so the legacy will continue, and then we gotta get there. You know, we gotta figure out who these new guys are going to be this year, who those sleepers are. Like no one. I still remember this day last year. No one had Jackson Merrill on their bingo card as being an impactful like rookie of the year candidate. The year before that, no one had Corbin Carroll being like the NL Rookie of the Year frontrunner coming out of spring training. So
Does that play into the fact that those two teams you just mentioned are in the West Coast?
and they are, and they're also not the Dodgers.
That's true.
So they're not in the biggest media market out west that gets all the attention and glory.
So they can get overlooked easily.
They can get overlooked easily, and it's a shame
It
because
is.
you know West Coast baseball has a lot to offer. The Pacific Coast League in the minors is one of the best leagues for finding who those offensive players are going to be.
You're 100% correct. But the East Coast media concentrate on the East Coast team more so than the West Coast.
Welcome to America, Nika. It went, in case you don't know, it was founded east to west. So it's always going to have that bias, unfortunately.
Sure.
And, you know, until the earth flips on itself or reverses itself inside out.
Ooh, it's happening already, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think either of those things are going to happen. But one thing that is happening is, speaking of the Dodgers, they are in Japan along with the Cubs, and news is happening. Things are happening. But before we get into all of it, I just want to say, where is MLB Network in all of this? I don't see a booth set up or I don't see any hosts, any shows taking place live. I don't see like a play-by-play of the action on the ground in Japan. And I feel like it's another big missed opportunity here for Major League Baseball. While they're doing this big international event, they're not having like their own brand public throughout the duration of it, like wall-to-wall coverage. I feel like the NFL did a better job of this with NFL Network when they go to London every year. And I don't know, this is just a shame to me. I'm not digging the coverage, if you will. We kind of criticized the social media coverage the other day, but I'm going to even extend it further now and say, like, I feel like we're being left out of the dark of this cool event. You get peeks and windows into it, but like, you know, you have to go on Twitter, to your point, and see the lines of people that are wrapped around to get in to see Ohtani or buy Ohtani gear or buy some limited edition drop that's happening. Like, this is what I want to see and what baseball needs to be showing to compete. You know, they truly are a global brand, and yet they're catering all of it towards the Japanese audience right now, to the point of excluding out the U.S. in a sense. We don't
It's
get to see
crazy.
it.
It's crazy to think about it like that because they want to be international brand. They want to bring more people into the baseball, yet they self-govern themselves out of it.
It's like almost like they're self-censoring us out of it. You know, like
Yeah.
there should be coverage of this going on. There should be a media crew there, like Lauren and DeRosa and Roflo and or somebody. They should be there on TV the whole day, like while this is happening. And I get that their clock doesn't correlate with our clock. You know, like when we are sleeping, they are awake and everything. Like I think around 5 is like 8 o'clock in the morning there on the Pacific.
So what's
So-
stopping them
But the-
keep that stuff online for people to see it later? That shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, the bigger point here, though, is like we need to. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is that like there's nothing wrong with just starting that programming at 6 a.m. Eastern time for the waking up audience. You can have it on replay or whatever. You can put the highlights on little nuggets like you do with everything else that's going on right now. But I just feel like there's a missed opportunity here. Like everything is being filtered through the Japanese media, and you know there's going to be no cutaway on Good Morning America tomorrow to the game or to like something happening inside of the stadium or something, you know, and that's a missed opportunity to share baseball with America and with a global audience.
And exposing global audience to even Shohei Otani, who is a national
He's
treasure
a
in
Michael
Japan.
Jordan-esque superstar, and yet I will still find people in America in the media who don't know who he is and have never heard of him. And it's like, wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me that like you're really missing out on the Jordan of your era or the Babe Ruth of your era. Like you don't even know that. Like how can you feel culturally relevant anymore if you don't know this?
You know what's sad about this whole situation? We have access to internet 24/7. And
Yeah.
when Babe Ruth was alive or Jordan was on top
In his
of the
prime.
world in his prime, we didn't have all those things.
Yeah.
And people all over the world knew about these two.
When Michael
versus
Jordan
now.
was retiring, like AOL dial-up was the internet of its day. And you still had that crazy modem sound when you logged on. Like that's what Jordan's end of his career was. Yeah, we never had any of this technology speed delivery system that we have now, and it's a shame that
It
it's
is.
not being utilized more. And other brands do. You know, the NFL, when they have an event going on, whether it's in London or whether it's in Brazil, we saw last year, like they take over, man, and it's fun.
My
And
cousin in Germany, she watched the Super Bowl at midnight.
yeah, it can be done. It's just cost versus effectiveness here, and they choose not to try, and that's the sad part. So, well, we could talk about this until there is we're blue in the face, but I'm gonna move on because there's some actual news with the boys in blue.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bullet just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
And one of them is feeling a little bit blue, and that is Mookie Betts, everybody. This, I guess, was known before the team went to Japan, and it was, I think it's only gotten worse as time has gone on because it's being described as flu-like symptoms and whatnot, but basically we are finding out that Mookie's now lost up to 15 pounds, it sounds like, and that's kind of concerning when you think about an athlete and you need your muscle to support your health as an athlete. And when I hear some athlete has lost 15 pounds that fast,
It's a concern.
it's going to come in some form of muscle loss.
Well, it's definitely water loss for sure at the
Well,
beginning.
he's definitely dehydrated and
Yes.
having trouble staying hydrated.
Exactly. But they still don't know what is happening with him.
It says it's an unknown illness or whatnot. So, yeah.
I can go conspiratorial on you.
Well, I want to play a couple clips from Dave Roberts because they really highlight, I think, the difficulty it is in being a major league manager sometimes and having to dance around these issues with players, especially when this isn't even an injury per se. This is something that could be even more concerning than that. Let's hear clip number 1.
Yeah, Dave, first off, what was Mookie able to do today pregame?
I was out there with him taking ground balls, throwing it across the diamond. I think he took some swings in the cage. Really showed some fatigue, understandably so. We'll see how he comes in tomorrow. He should be here for the workout and kind of try to do a little bit more tomorrow and see where he's at.
So, as you can tell, this was actually before the second game the Dodgers played in Tokyo against one of the NPO teams, one of the Nippon Professional Organization teams over there. And that is those are like the teams that Yamamoto and Otani played on before they came to the U.S. and stuff. So it's the Japanese professional league teams, and the Cubs and the Dodgers both played a couple of scrimmage games just to keep playing and stay loose. And they both went 1-1 in those games, by the way. So the Japanese teams are not to be trifled with, everybody. They can beat the major league teams even. It's amazing, right? Like, it's not, there's no such thing as a sure thing in baseball. So who knows? Maybe we should invite them over to play with us. They can be the West Coast.
Oh, cool.
New West Coast. Or New East Coast, I guess. Because it's their East, right?
So slowly, some of these players might migrate to majors,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the pitcher on the mound in one of the games, the Dodgers were already like on
Eyeing
Twitter
him out.
saying like, "Yep, future Dodger over there." Like they get all the Japanese players till the rest of time, something like that.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But back to the serious matter here, because Mookie's health is definitely not a joking matter, and I want to play the second clip now because this is like it just shows the tenacity of the media sometimes. I want to point out this is the same guy asking the question.
Obviously, it's more than 24 hours away, but like, what's your level of optimism that he'll be in there for opening day?
Optimism for opening day. I think that we're really trying to be mindful of not just opening day, but not putting him in harm's way in the sense of he hasn't taken live at bats or played in any games, and not to put him in a position where he potentially could get hurt.
So with Roberts here, like he's dancing around a lot of the health issues with Mookie right now and how serious it potentially is, because you notice he's talking about long term and there's more to the season than just these 2 games and whatnot, and it does sound like there could be something.
They're concerned. They are definitely concerned, and Roberts cannot come out and say, well, Mookie's sick, he won't be able to play. That's not our media. Work like that.
There's talk now that he after this, it came out that he's definitely gonna not play, and he
sounds
possibly
fatigued.
gonna get sent back to Los Angeles early, because he probably needs like IV treatment or something at this point, at least to get hydrated.
But he can get the same treatment in Japan. They have #1 healthcare system.
That's a good point. Pick your poison, I guess. But like, why would he stay? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he wants to be in his house resting, I guess.
Maybe.
But at the same time, like, this is definitely something to keep an eye on, and we talked about the fragile health, I think, of this dynasty that the Dodgers are putting together. We don't need to remind everyone every day about it, but Freddie Freeman is 34, and had a nasty surgery on an ankle in the offseason. Otani is 31, and he is recovering not just from Tommy John surgery, but also a separate shoulder surgery that he injured while stealing a base last season.
Mookie Betts is 32 and 4 months. So
He
he's
is,
not the
yes.
youngest, but he's not very old either.
And he's now going to be shut down, it sounds like, and losing reps at a new position, while a season gets started. And it's one of those things where it becomes, once the season takes off, it just becomes hard to start slotting people into different places. And, you know, they have big aspirations for Mookie to play shortstop this year. And so I'm a little bit concerned to see how this goes with the Great Baseball Experiment. It is an experiment, Nika. I want to remind everybody of that.
It's definitely an experiment, and this position changing by Mookie, it's going to be another experiment. So,
well, I wish Mookie Betts a speedy recovery when it comes to, you know, the health and illness and everything like that. You know, but in the meantime, there's going to be baseball that goes on, and the Cubs and Dodgers will open the season, as we said. And anyways, we got more news. We have a new event coming to MLB this year, everybody, and it was announced on Friday, right as we went off the air, actually, or stopped recording, so we had to save it for today. But the Vetter Cup, everybody, that's right, you heard me correctly, the Vetter Cup, which is named after Pearl Jam singer Eddie Vedder, that is coming to MLB as a prize, as a trophy between the season matchup of the Seattle Mariners and the San Diego Padres, which, if you didn't know, the Padres and the Mariners are quote-unquote rivals when it comes to the way MLB handles these interleague matchups. Like, for example, the Cubs and the White Sox are intercity rivals, and the Mets and the Yankees are intercity rivals, and the Reds and the Guardians are interstate rivals, right? Well, the Padres and the Mariners didn't have rivals, so they became rivals, even though they're like, one's at the top of the West Coast and one's at the bottom of the West Coast, and they're not even in the same division.
so the MLB willed this rivalry into existence, basically.
It kind of exists by default.
Okay.
Kind of like Astros and Rockies also, I believe, is another one of these.
That's the apples and oranges right there.
Well, because the Rangers and the Astros are in the same division already, they can't be rivals like
Right.
that. So
But
they
we got
needed to
Angels
have
closer.
the Rangers get the D-backs
I
like
don't
this. I don't remember. It's like draw straws at that point and make your own rivalry.
I guess.
Well, the Nationals and the Orioles exist. You know, the Marlins and the Rays exist as the Inter-Florida and the Inter-Washington, D.C. We did Ohio. You know, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, I don't know exactly how they handle it because they're NL teams. I don't remember. Philadelphia might get the Red Sox, actually, because of the whole, like, founding fathers and, like, both cities being pertinent to the Constitution or something like that. All right, well, we spent a lot of time on this, but the Vetter Cup is happening this year, and it's for bragging rights, basically, between the Padres and Mariners. They play 4 games against each other every year now, not 6. Because of the way interleague plays and everybody plays everybody, they shortened those matchups from 6 games down to 4, 2 at one place and 2 at the other place.
You know, they made an Eddie Vedder Cup, yet he's a Cubs fan.
I know, and that's what no one mentioned this. I always thought Eddie Vedder was a Cubs fan because he has sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at Cubs games, and Pearl Jam has played epic concerts at Wrigley Field. I know of that. Even people from the neighborhood were watching from the outside looking in, even because of the whole stadium. You know, the way that you can watch the neighborhood can see the games,
Yeah.
kind of. They can see the concerts too, it turns out.
It's kind of crazy to think about it, but whatever.
Yeah, and the word I was looking for there was rooftops, everybody. The rooftop seating in Wrigleyville that we all know is world famous and doesn't exist that much anymore because of the whole Ricketts family and the nastiness of
yeah.
the baseball business, for lack of a better word of putting it. But the game goes on, everybody, and the games will go on. We mentioned tonight, and we have news. We have our first matchups of the year to announce. Nika, are you excited?
Sure.
All
the
right,
season's
well-
about to start, so yeah.
And I want to point out that even though everything is about Ohtani with this series and sort of Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, but they're second fiddle to Ohtani, and they always will be. You made the choice, men. You made that choice. But Otani is the main attraction here in Tokyo, and yet the Chicago Cubs are the home team in these two games. Everybody.
What?
I know. I don't know if that was Major League Baseball's way of trying to like balance the scales in this. The Cubs will get last at bats in these two games, and they are considered home games for the Cubs. And I don't know how that's going to affect things later. I guess they will probably play 4 at LA. So reap what you sow, Cubs. I guess you get the honor of having that fun matchup to deal with at some point later in the season. So, but in the meantime, tonight it will be Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the visiting Dodgers against Shota Imanaga for the Chicago Cubs. And this is going to be, of course, the big Japan on Japan featured matchup of the whole series, and two of the best rookies from last year's class at totally different points in their career, by the way. But it's worth pointing out they both had really great rookie seasons. Even Imanaga out-dueled Yamamoto during last year's regular season, although Yamamoto did shine in the postseason and helped the Dodgers win that ring. And the Dodgers did win that ring, so they have bragging rights right now. But I hope the Cubs come out and just sock them in the teeth, man. Michael Busch, Matt Shaw, come on, young men. Bring those wooden lumber bats out there and show these Japanese men how the game of baseball is played in America.
Damn right.
Just joking. It's going to be a fun matchup, and I really do hope the Cubs sock it to the Dodgers, like I said, because I really want that media head explosion for 10 days or 7 days or whatever amount of days. I don't care how long it is. It's worth having. Oh, the Dodgers are 0-2. Should everyone hit the panic button?
Oh, you know that's going to happen.
Well, because if they come back 2-0, then it's just going to be a week of ass kissing and like, oh, dynasty. And it's going to be it's end of story.
I know.
And we don't have a lot of clips pulled for you guys today like we want to, but, you know, there just was not a lot of talking heads going on. Even this morning, there was not a lot because I think they're all getting ready for the early morning rising sun of Japan baseball tomorrow.
They all have a day off so they can start early tomorrow.
Yeah, and maybe that's rightfully so, but I still wish we would have gotten a little bit more analysis. There's a lot of other games going on. There's a lot of spring battles going on, as we mentioned, so... all right, well, game 2, we're going to get to see finally Roki Sasaki make his major league debut, and he will be pitching against the lefty for the Cubs, Justin Steele. So Cubs going lefty-lefty to start the season out of their rotation. Now, I mean, no word, I guess, on who's going to start the season opener with these two starting in these two games. I don't know if they're going to be ready to go again because of the travel and all that, but... for now, the Cubs going lefty-lefty. I like it. The Dodgers have some good lefty hitters like Otani and Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy, and I could probably go on. But, yeah, so I like this matchup for the Cubs, and I like what they're doing, and it's going to be tough. You know, you got the two Japanese pitchers going for the Dodgers. Now, I will say I don't expect Roki Sasaki to pitch very long. I mean, he's not going to pitch 6 innings.
No.
I will be shocked if he goes more than 3.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't think any pitcher is going to go more than 3 innings.
None of them, huh? Even
Yeah.
Yamamoto and Steele and okay. Because we already have guys in spring training going 4.
Yeah, but
This series hits different, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It did last year, too, when the Padres played the Dodgers in Korea, in Seoul, Korea. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, how ready and limber everyone feels. But I feel like, too, it's one of those situations where you maybe want all of those other starters to get an opportunity to just touch the mound in the game. But
exposure to a different team, to a different situation, stadium, get that. You know.
yeah, no, I'm sure that the game itself will dictate a lot of these decisions.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's about winning games. And that's what the managers are going to do before everything else. So
100%.
all right. Well, we are going to keep it moving here. And before we move on, I wanted to mention that we are going to actually come and do a special show on Wednesday, everybody, right after the Cubs and Dodgers game goes off the air, approximately. Might have a little bit of breathing room in between there to gather some post-game sound bites, perhaps, and just let the dust settle a little bit on the series because we are going to do our first hot and cold list of the season.
It's me, Ricky Martin. Come on, hot, 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 or cold. Yo, hot, 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 or cold.
I'm so excited for that. It's been a while since we've gotten to do one of these, and our first awards, we're going to give these out for the Tokyo show. So like the Road Runner.
Meep, meep. Meep, meep.
Who gets the most stolen bases, and the big whiffer, who's going to strike out the most between the two games.
Well, good thing is there's only 2 games to deal with.
I'm just
Not a
putting
whole-
everybody on notice, Nika. I want these players knowing ahead of time that these awards are on the line this week for them.
All right.
And there's also going to be a home run king. So whoever hits the most home runs in these 2 games, I could see a lot of ties at 1.
It could be.
But if you do hit 2, you got a good chance, I bet, of winning this Home Run King award this week. So stay tuned on Wednesday, everybody, for this special Cubs-Dodgers wrap-up from Tokyo and hopefully celebrating a 2-0 Cubs.
They're singing, go, Cubs, go. Go, Cubs, go.
And are we doing this live by any chance?
Well, I don't think we're going to be doing it quite live yet, but our new goal is to perhaps try and be live before opening day.
All right.
Stay tuned. We got a week. We got 10 days, everybody.
Pressure's on.
The pressure is on. And hey, speaking of hot, do you know who's hot right now, Nika?
Luis?
You read my mind. It is Luis. Luis Arise, our guy, is on fire in spring training, hitting .438 for the spring, and he actually has been adding some power to his game, I noticed. He went deep Friday night. It was a beautiful left-handed swing home run. I just got to call it out. Luis Arise, stay hot in the regular season, please. No, that thumb looks healed, right? You don't see him shaking his hand after the at-bats anymore like he was last season at the end and throughout the playoffs. And just a ligament surgery that in the offseason seems to have fixed him up. And he's good.
Well,
And
hopefully no pitcher's going to hit him and not hand again.
please, please, please. Okay. We got some rumors, Nika.
Are the rumors true?
I love rumors.
You're all vulnerable to vicious rumors.
Well, you know how this town is. People talk and they spread these cruel rumors.
Rumors? Rumors? Spread by whom?
All right. Well, the first rumor I got for everyone this week is regarding Spencer Torkelson, everybody. Spencer Torkelson.
On the Tigers.
Indeed. Once upon a time was a coveted prospect. His major league output has not lived up to the hype, I would say, to this point, but he is still a pretty young guy. Do you have his age in front of you by any chance?
Spencer, let me see. I'm looking at it right now, and
I
Spencer
got
is
it, I think.
25 and a half.
Yeah. So he's 25 and a half, and he's put up in 1,300 career at-bats. He's put up almost 50 home runs, 49 home runs with a 221 batting average. I mean, 221 when I was a kid barely got you a ticket into the majors, if that. But times have changed, so the batting average isn't necessarily like earth-shatteringly low, but it is low for a career. And I had actually pegged Spencer Torkelson as a trading bait for the Tigers in the preseason, especially if he had gotten off to a good start in spring training, which by all intents and purposes he has. However, now the Tigers are dealing with Jace Young. They optioned him to AAA, which is kind of an unexpected move. And Spencer Torkelson potentially moving to the outfield here, I don't know if this makes sense because he's a pretty stocky dude and he just doesn't scream wheels to me. Like he can run down fly balls like Tatis and Merrill can. You know, it's not like an infielder moving to the outfield when you move a shortstop or a second baseman, even, you're moving somebody with some speed, unless it's Altuve. Geez, that looks like an adventure out there. But my point is Torkelson doesn't scream outfield to me, and I don't know why the Tigers are not looking to move him more. He's a first baseman naturally, and they have Colt Keith there now, and they have him locked up for a while, and he's going to be the guy. So why not trade and make your team better somehow? It just seems like we're collecting players here at too many positions, and
it seems to be the trend nowadays. But also, when you look, he's a first baseman. No team is in a desperate need of a first baseman at the moment.
No, I mean, the only team I thought possibly could benefit from him is the Padres of all teams, because not that he would play first base all the time for a rise, but mostly as a left-handed or as a power hitting designated hitter,
But then you have Hayworth, Connor Joe. You have abundance of
the
players.
Padres have too much competition going on right now for those spots. But I think you would put Spencer Torkelson rated above those guys, just out of the gate.
Okay.
At least with potential. Whether or not the potential lives up is up to you. But
I mean, if you
unfortunately, it didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's moving. I think the Tigers are kind of wondering what is going to happen with their roster because of some unforeseen moves, like this Jace Young move. Like, they don't feel like he's ready. Yet he was on the playoff roster last year, so it's kind of surprising. It's a weird move, and it jumped out at me a little bit. And the Spencer Torkelson to the outfield jumped out at me. What are they thinking here?
I don't know, but this is a trend for a lot of teams.
And why not also are they considering potentially the low-hanging fruit of moving Baez to third base? Because he doesn't move as well as he used to, but he could play defense. Anyways, next rumor we got is Rafael Devers, everybody, is playing ball with the Red Sox. I don't know. Did we talk about this on the show yet?
I don't think we talked about it in details.
Well, there are basically Rafael Devers met with the media last week and sang like a canary, everybody. He told the media that he's ready to do whatever he needs to do to help the Red Sox win, including playing DH or playing in the designated hitter role instead of third base. Nika, are you buying or selling this?
This was the official statement by him to the media. What was said behind the closed door?
Well, we don't know yet, but
no rumors?
Somebody from Mass Live, which I think stands for Massachusetts Live, Sean McAdam reported that Devers considered asking for a trade. What does this even mean, considered asking for it? Did he or didn't? How do you know what he was thinking? Like, there's no explanation of a statement like this, and I just don't know why people are allowed to get away with crap like this regularly.
State of our media. Wow.
Because people take this and run with it,
Yeah.
and now it's like a thing, and I'm just wondering, is it a thing? Like, how do you know what he was thinking?
That is crazy. So what was he thinking exactly? That he's going to ask for a trade, potentially?
Well, it says, like, is peace at hand with Rafael Devers or just a temporary truce? This is what Sean McAdam wrote on Mass Live. And, he just kind of, the article is blocked out, so I can't read it from there. I'm not a subscriber. I'm not going to subscribe, but the point is I don't know how anyone can know whether or not a player was considering asking for a trade. It's just an odd way of putting it.
Yeah.
And
it's an odd one. The whole situation is odd because Devers is going to be there for the next 10 years.
Or is he?
Or is he, exactly. And to have kind of a disarray in a clubhouse for that long, I don't know.
I got to imagine that that's a really difficult contract to move because, I mean, you're asking a team to take on almost $300 million in payroll that's owed to Devers at this point, and
then you add Bregman to this. Yeah, it's just weird.
This whole courtship between the Red Sox and like Alex Bregman and what's happened with Rafael Devers as a result is just in a lot of ways some of the things that are wrong with baseball, because everybody was praising the Red Sox for this move, of going out and getting Bregman and spending money, and yet no one is holding them accountable for getting and buying a player that they don't need.
Shocker. Accountability is non-existent.
The great
Anywhere.
Red Sox finally spent money, but at what cost? And we've said this before, but I still say at what cost, because I just don't see this ending well. I really don't.
Yeah.
There's too much smoke there, I considered asking for a trade. You have a reporter or a beat reporter or some columnist, whatever he is, I don't know, basically running with it, though, this idea that he considered asking for a trade. I mean, you might as well say he wants to be traded. Like, why wouldn't he at this point? He probably feels like he got empty promises. You don't think this is going to affect performance on the field for him? I guarantee you, I'm calling it now. Rafael Devers, he either will go one of two ways. Scalding hot, he'll be an angry man taking out frustration on baseballs, or he will slump because he got his position taken away from him, and his alpha male will kick in and be like, you're not out there, and he will be mopey.
And he just got his contract.
He just got it last year.
Yeah.
They
so
told
he
him
has
you're the third
no-
baseman of the future, and now they're saying like, yeah, well, the guy that told you that's no longer here.
That's a BS excuse.
That is not a good way to run a business,
No.
But that's business. That's how it's run. And I Rafael Devers, I wish you a Mariner, because Seattle would treat you a hell of a lot better than the Red Sox are treating you, and you would pair very nicely with Julio Rodriguez. So let's will this into existence, and let's wrap up this rumors segment by touching on who else. It's time for Dylan Cease once again. And, we told you that everyone wants to trade for Dylan Cease. The Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, these teams the Cubs, they've all been trying to pry Dylan Cease away from the San Diego Padres this offseason because pitching is a premium, Nika, and
I
we
know.
know it. And, there was a mystery team involved, and it turns out we've unmasked the mystery team. It's the Phillies.
I'm giving it my all. I'm not the guy you're taking. Ooh, I keep dancing on my own.
And the reason why I wanted to include this rumor was not so much because the Dylan Cease saga ceases to exist, but it does put the Phillies kind of 2025 mindset into perspective a little bit. The Phillies are aging, and maybe even faster than the Dodgers, right, Nika? When you look at the ages of Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and Bryce Harper.
They are, but they're not that far apart from the Padres.
Age-wise?
Right, because Padres just accumulated a bunch of older players, and that brought their whole
Yeah,
average
but
up.
I'm talking about those are the stars. And when you look at Machado and Bogarts are aging, but Tatis and Merrill are not. So
Well, those are
I
the
feel like it's
youngest ones.
spread out a little bit more. That's just me.
You're right on that part, yes.
So that's just where I'm going with that. And I just feel like the Phillies feel like their window is very limited, when it comes to winning and doing it with this group. And if they're unable to do that, that will mean Bryce Harper is going to go ringless, at least with this group. And how many more cracks at the apple are they going to get at it with him and a new group are they going to have time to put a new group together? That's my point. And, Bryce Harper is looking more and more to me like he might be a superstar in a long line of superstars to retire without that ring. And he missed it in Washington by a year. And now he might, just be running out of time with the city of brotherly love because of
Well-
those aging stars and just where the Dodgers are at. It's going to be so they're in a tough division.
They are in a tough division. They are aging. I don't know.
They
Wish
still
them
have
luck.
that pitching right now. Like, they have a really good starting rotation. And if you added Cease to it, I could understand their mindset.
What's their what would they have to give back to the Padres?
Prospects. They would have to have good enough prospects to make the change. But
I just don't.
Or
see
would
it.
they give the Padres one of their lower tier starters? Like, I don't know who, but
Time will tell. Based on everything, it will be determined by the.
well, hey, look, a
All-star.
lot of teams will want Dylan Cease, right? And the Phillies wanting Dylan Cease does not surprise me one bit. And again, that's not. This rumor wasn't about. I don't think Dylan Cease is getting traded. Period. So I
Yeah.
don't think anyone's got what AJ Preller wants when it comes to Dylan Cease.
And Dylan Cease had a really good outing the other day.
Yes, he did.
So
So,
maybe
anyways,
he wants to stay a Padre.
the bigger point though is that he's not going anywhere right now. The news keeps trending in that direction more than anything.
Again, mainstream media wants to wield it into
I know
existence.
that they will not let this rumor die, even though it's I think been dead for like a few weeks now. But I thought this was more interesting again for the point of the Phillies. Like this lets us into a window into their mindset that like they want to win now because I don't think they have a lot of runway left with this group together. And with that rumor, I think it's time to move on to injuries. Nika, can you call the doctor, please?
Ready?
Yes, Doctor.
Doctor, give me the news.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
Dr. Harris,
Yes?
do you concur?
Is there anything you can do, Doctor?
We all heard the cries and the tears being shed in the Twin Cities yesterday when Royce Lewis ran to first base and came up about, 2/3 of the way down the baseline, and he was holding his hamstring, everybody. And if you're a Twins fan, you'll know this is nothing new. If you're a listener of this podcast, you'll know this is nothing new because Royce Lewis, when he's healthy, is Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 12.5 seconds.
The keys are in the ignition, Your Highness.
Exactly. But when he's not healthy, he's broken and he's not doing anything on the field, and he's been hurt a lot more than he's been healthy. And I found this clip this morning actually of Xavier Scruggs on MLB Network Radio, just kind of setting the table here of this sad tale in Minnesota that is, I think, gonna live on eternally in baseball.
Yeah, so many lower body injuries for him. And you can dream about what this lineup would ultimately look like if there was a consistent Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, and Royce Lewis in it, just on a 150 game basis, right? But it just like we don't get to see that opportunity. And it's just another reminder of how important it is to keep your body, to be able to go on a day-to-day basis. We're not seeing it all that much anymore. And I look at from the soft tissue issues, this is going to be a longer recovery, no matter what grade it is. And it doesn't look like a grade 1, the way he stopped down the first baseline. But no matter what grade it is for him, now it's a point to where recovery is going to be longer, as they're going to take every single precaution with him because they know it's something that's been reoccurring.
All right. Well, I really don't know what I was saying there before that clip, but I was waxing poetically about baseball, I guess. But Xavier Scruggs, for our intents and purposes here, he brings up just a sad point, Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, and Royce Lewis as a trio are a great starting point for a team. However, the problem is they do not stay healthy, and they are never on the field together as a threesome for a prolonged period of time, let alone long enough to win a bunch of games and maybe become even a 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs, right, Nika?
I know he's been injured last year, the year before, so.
Royce Lewis is hurt a lot. And it's just sad because I think when he's right and when he's on the field, he's been one of those guys you have to watch and pay attention to, and yet here we are.
That's true, but the sample size is so small. You only see him for a month and then he disappears. So I don't know.
Yeah. Will the real Royce Lewis
Yeah.
please stand up? Is that what you're kind of saying here?
Basically, he puts it all on the line, but then he cannot keep up. So does that make him a good player? I don't think so.
No, I guess it's more and more of a good question that you're asking. What does it mean to be a good player or a great player? And is staying on the field part of that?
Yes,
You
I
know,
agree.
like, and what do you do to take care of your body in the off season and during the season to stay on the field? Like, it should be looked at closer, more and more. You know, we should look at the previous generation because it seems like they were on the field a lot more than this generation.
Even if he is such a great player, how is he going to get to any milestone if he doesn't play?
Well, it's a really sad situation with him, and you know, hopefully he can figure it out before it's too late because his whole career is at risk of ever being known as like just an injury plagued could have been.
And that's exactly what might happen.
It seems like it's going that way. All right. Well, we also saw a oblique injury. Everybody, shocker for Marlins outfielder Jesus Sanchez. So add him to the list of walking wounded in spring training with oblique injuries. And while we turn it over to pitching, we've got more oblique injuries on the pitching side of things this week. Matt Waldron, the Matty Knuckles from the San Diego Padres, he was clutch for the Padres last year, by the way. He now has an oblique injury. He was getting ready to come into the game in spring training on Saturday. And while he was warming up, this is what happened. Man. And then we also had Tobias Myers, everybody, a big piece of these Milwaukee Brewers starting pitching, a young arm. He also had an oblique injury. So lack of stretching, Nika. I mean, obliques continue to pop up every injury report. It seems like the most common injury nowadays is an oblique pull. And this
They're
is,
not warm
do we
enough.
need better beds? Like, are guys not sleeping right? Like, are they not stretching enough?
They go up there cold. They don't have muscle stretch enough. So when they twerk, they can
Yeah.
pull a lot easier.
Yeah, baseball's a game of explosive movement, you know, like you react, whether
Right.
you're hitting or whether you're fielding, like you are kind of in a still position and then you have to react quickly.
And now they want to hit the ball really hard so they get the homer or whatever, and that requires more twerking. So
Yeah,
one thing leads to-
overexertion.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
you see pitchers also admitting that they're trying to throw as hard as they can, and you wonder why they're getting oblique injuries
Mm-hmm.
because they're overexerting themselves in their chase for speed and velocity, as we talked about on our last podcast so much. But I think that's the big elephant in the room that nobody's talking about is that also, by the way, Tommy John is just one symptom of this chasing speed, and the other one is these oblique injuries. Is that you're overexerting your lats or whatever, and you're pulling your oblique muscles, and you're winding up on the shelf. So it's stupid. The
It
whole
is.
chase for velocity is stupid, and it's just putting you out of the action more than in the action. All right. Well, we did have some serious injuries on the Rangers side of things to report, actually. And Bruce Bochy, man, you talk about having to. Do you think he's just prepared for this after so many seasons in the seat now, or do you think nothing prepares you for this?
I don't think anything prepares you for that.
All right. Well, he's down a couple more starters. John Gray, who is a pretty reliable veteran pitcher, he had some injuries with his groin last year, if I'm remembering correctly. But now he's got a broken wrist. He took a liner off of his wrist in the game he was pitching in, and it's broken. So it's on his throwing hand, and I mean he's going to start the season. They said on the 60-day IL. And I don't even know if that's enough to fix a broken wrist at this juncture. We're 10 days away from opening day.
I guess it's how severe the bones are broken, or
I mean, you got to figure
fractured?
he's going to be in a cast and immobilized for at least a month, if not more. Does he need to have any pins or needles inserted into that wrist? Like, we don't know a lot of information yet, and we'll definitely be following this situation. But the Rangers continue to have starting pitching be an issue.
it started with the Yankees. Now it's going to the Rangers. Every single team's going to suffer
Yes.
because of the chase.
And Cody Bradford is one of those on the Rangers who's suffering. We haven't talked about yet, but he has a sore elbow, and I always cringe when I see the sore elbow as the risk here. And he has been, I guess Bochy told the media that he's going to start the season on the 15-day IL, but I'm just like, gosh, is he a Tommy John candidate? You know, whenever you see that sore elbow, I feel like 99 times out of 100, like 5 or 6 days later, they're like, and he's going under the knife.
They're probably waiting to see what's going to happen. They don't want to announce first Tommy John of the season.
I think they're waiting to hear what's going to happen, Nika.
Well, it's not even a first one.
Tommy, can you hear me? Yep, because Tommy's been calling.
Tommy's
often.
been called.
And until there's generational change in Major League Baseball with how we look at pitching and the chase for velocity is stupid, then we're not going to see a decrease in these injuries. We're only going to see them go up.
The MLB is going to start making excuses. I guarantee you.
And it's not going to be about velocity chase or overexertion.
Nope.
In pursuit of that chase.
They won't even touch that topic with a stick.
They might when and if we see DeGrom have success this year. And that's the one outlier that we've seen, and we even reported on it on this podcast because it is worth keeping an eye on. Now, Jacob DeGrom can't do anything about a broken wrist. You know, that's a bad luck injury with John Gray here. But when you talk about this elbow injury, and you know, like, I'm just curious, you know, like if he manages not to get hit by any line drives, will the rest of his body allow him to stay on the field for the whole season if he stops overexerting himself? And I'm talking about Jacob DeGrom here. I want to see that. We both want to see that. We want to see Verlander succeed by reinventing themselves a little bit. And you have to pitch again, guys. Greg Maddux pitched every night of his life. That's why he has over 350 wins. And 300 was just like an easy breezing for a guy like that. 78 pitch starts were the norm. Not the norm, but he got them. So, all right. Well, that's all the injuries we got going on this episode. But let us turn it over once again to the media with our new segment, Stop the Press, everybody.
Stop the press. Listen, I'm sorry about what I said. I was being an idiot.
Excellent example of infield journalistic investigative technique.
Therefore, your heinous comment will be stricken from the record.
I just happen to notice that our presses aren't running, which strikes me as rather odd since we are, after all, a newspaper.
All right, Nika. Well, I had to stop the press for one of our favorites here on the Kanika Sports Show, Joey Gallo. Not to be confused with the lawyer from the movie My Cousin Vinny. That's Joey Callow.
Are you sure?
Joey Gallo, everybody. He was let go yesterday by the White Sox. Actually, he requested to be released because he was heading for the minor leagues. And when you're as experienced as Joey Gallo, as we've talked about on this podcast before, you can just be released. You don't have to go to the minors anymore. And you can kind of see if there's any other teams out there that want to call you up or are in need of your services. But Joey Gallo went 2 for 20 in 9 spring training games with the Chicago White Sox this year. That's not so good, Nika. So you know that's a 0-1-0 batting average, everybody. just to put that into a little bit of perspective. And
you know, he's not that old. He's gonna be 32 this year.
Yeah, he's never been a high contact hitter, and
he has not.
You know, he's just one of those guys he's gonna fade out early. He hit some monstrous moonshots in his time,
and
but he's always even struggled to hit 200. Everybody.
Yeah, he is not the contact hitter, and he's been bouncing around. He hasn't found a permanent home. He's been on Rangers,
I don't know.
Dodgers, Yankees.
You know what that tells me a little bit is that like he wasn't able to latch on to anybody's coaching and maybe was too stubborn to change. I have a hard time seeing that he didn't get offered some good coaching advice somewhere along the way with some of those organizations that you listed off, especially the Yankees and Dodgers, right?
Yep.
But now that you're in the White Sox organization and they're at the early stages of their new regime, you're not going to get good coaching right now there. Like that's going to change your life or turn your life around. So I'm not surprised that this was the end for Joey Gallo. But the surprise in all of this and the reason why it's in Stop the Presses and the reason why we have to talk about it is because Joey Gallo says that he is considering pitching, Nika. he wants to throw.
Yeah, he wants to convert to pitching. Pitching is at the premium. Maybe he's going to bring the pitching the right way back.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask. Is Joey Gallo looking at the dollar signs of pitchers just like, I have been, and wondering like, oh my gosh, like, should I dust off the shoulder a little bit and consider it? Like, I mean.
Well, he throws right. He bets left.
So
he will be a right.
He's already not as coveted as if he could have just stuck with the way he hit. I'm just kidding. I mean, I know we don't have control over this.
I don't think he will be a starting pitcher. He might be a reliever. I mean, he is tall enough. He's 6'5", so he's tall enough to be a pitcher. How is his throwing arm, though? Do you even remember if he has a rocket for an arm?
I don't know. He is a Gold Glove winner, so he must have a little bit of a throwing arm, you would think.
He's a two All-Star as well.
Yeah, ultimately, though, he's got a career average under 200. Like I said, it's 194, 208 home runs. I mean, the guy is literally like a swing for the fences poster child.
Maybe he should have been a pitcher from the get-go.
I mean, it's hard to argue 208 home runs. You should have always pitched. But
no, I'm
maybe
not
he should have made the
that.
transition sooner, because I don't think he's really done much the last few seasons worth writing about. So
that's true.
Anyways, this might be the end of the outfield career and DH career of Joey Gallo, but maybe not the end of his major league career if he can show somebody that he can actually pitch. I would be kind of surprised. And apparently he was talking to the White Sox about it during spring training. So they weren't like shocked that he said that. But
well, he's
anyways,
not going to be pitching for the White Sox.
He's not going to be. They released him. So all right. Well, Will Venable, by the way, the new White Sox manager, he said, quote, "Wish him luck as he starts a new chapter as a pitcher." I mean, this sounds like it's serious to me.
Okay.
It's
we
hilarious.
will keep an eye on Joey Gallo.
Will we see him pitching, everybody?
Maybe.
All right. That'll be fun. Okay, well, it's almost time to get out of here. But before we do, Nika, we got some extra innings. And we got a couple of fun bonus baseball nuggets, everybody. And we had a fun little moment happen in one of these spring breakout games over the weekend with the Seattle Mariners when they called in their prospect. And his name, I'm going to butcher it, but it's Jurrangelo Cinci, I think. Jurrangelo Cinci. And if you don't know the name, you will probably know it soon because he did something that's pretty cool in a game. He is an ambidextrous pitcher. He can chuck it up there with both arms, everybody. So what a nightmare for a manager, huh? If you're trying to play matchups like lefty-righty and he's just like staring back at you and he's like, yeah, make your move. Give me your best shot. It's a whole like new way to counter that.
It is, but does one of his arms tires quicker than the other, or we don't know?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of data on this yet, but it's he does throw different speeds. One arm he brings it up there with 92 miles an hour, and this is allbat.com, by the way, from March 16th. This is written by Ishmael Hernandez de Dios. I think I said that right. And he talked about how he took the mound in the fifth inning of the spring breakout game for the Mariners against the Cleveland Guardians. And he pitched left-handed, reaching 92 miles an hour. And in his second at-bat, he pitched right-handed and hit 97 miles an hour. So he actually brought more speed with the right arm than with the left arm.
Is he naturally righty?
I don't know. But he was selected as an ambidextrous pitcher. So he does not like commit one way or the other, I guess. He swings both ways when it comes to pitching. But yeah, when he was drafted in last year's draft in the first round by the Mariners, he was considered the number 7 prospect in college baseball. He had 16 starts with Mississippi State in 2024 with a 3.67 ERA, 113 strikeouts, and a 2.11 batting average against. So yeah, just because you can bring it up there with both arms doesn't mean you're unhittable. That's the lesson. It's not anything other than it's a cool thing. I think it's cool, and you know what I would do with him if it were me is I would want him to become like my 7th and 8th inning specialist, so that when managers notoriously try to, pinch hit or make some lineup adjustments late in the game to maybe move the matchup more in their favor, you have a guy like this that's locked down with both arms that's like staring back at you. That's a dream, I think, if you're the opposing manager against a good offense.
So you would have him as a reliever at the end, not a starter.
Not the closer per se, because I want to keep my options open about when I use him effectively. But it could be anywhere from like the end of the 6th to the 8th.
Okay.
Where you have a bunch of like even the way the Padres are setting up their lineup, which no one talks about enough, with Arise, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, and then Cronenworth, Bogarts. It's lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. And when you have that at the end of a game coming up at you, even in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, it's going to be a challenge for any manager, even for any closer, to navigate those back and forth matchups. So having a guy like this, I could see being really fun to use at the end of a game. But we'll wait and see if he makes it that far, because he's still a prospect right now. And as we said, this was his Mariners debut in all of spring training. So they called him up specifically for this game. He's not even like a spring training invitee yet.
How old is he?
Great question. But he might be a little bit older because he went to college. How much so, I don't know. And I can't find it in this article because, of course, I can't.
That's all right.
But that's okay. No hyperlinks from allbat.com, unfortunately. Okay. Well, we actually have a double dose of extra innings today because I found this other fun video, everybody, of Travis Bazzana, who is one of the Cleveland Guardians' top prospects. And this is in no way related to the ambidextrous pitching story because they did play each other in their spring breakout game. But Travis Bazzana is Australian, and he speaks Australian, actually. And if you thought that was just English, well, you were wrong, everybody, because I teased this earlier in the show, and we learned a new word, brekkie, and we're going to learn what that means right now when we listen to Travis Bazzana in his sit-down interview with MLB Network from before the spring breakout game last Friday. Here we go.
They go, your dogs are out. I got my thongs on. And they're like, what?
How would you say afternoon?
Arvo, yeah. That's a perfect example of something I should have brought up. Like, I would say, like, what are you doing this Arvo? Do you have any plans this Arvo? I've said that, and someone's like, Arvo, like, avocado, yeah.
Okay, what about breakfast?
Yep, brekkie, so... Again, these are things that I kind of have waved out of my vocabulary, which is sad.
But you like...
But yeah, brekkie, breakfast. You want to go to brekkie? Yeah.
When you're completely full at breakfast, is there a word for that?
I'm chock-a-block. I'm chockers, yeah. I almost said that, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
What about like a friend or a buddy? Is there a word for like...
Yeah, mate.
This says cobber. I don't know what
Cobber? Yeah, that's in the generation older than me would say cobber, but I wouldn't.
A pair of flip-flops.
Yeah, thongs. They go, your dogs are out. I got my thongs on. And they're like, what? Flip-flops, yeah.
All right. Well, we got brekkie in there, Nico, and we finally can reveal to the audience that it means breakfast, everybody. And we love that because we break our fast every day. We don't eat in the morning. We eat one meal a day in the afternoon, and we call it breaking our fast. And from now on, I'm just going to say, Nika, it's time to brekkie.
All right.
All right. I like it. I'm sorry. I like that one.
It's a cool word, but he shortens a lot of words just for shits and giggles, I guess.
Right. No, that's one of the things that goes along with this. Arvo.
After the words or something like that. It's funny.
Do you have any plans this Arvo? That one's weird.
I have my brekkie after that.
Brekkie.
Arvo?
It's kind of funny because he mentions in the clip, as we showed you, like he's forgotten a lot of this already, and it made me think of you because you came here from Poland when you were young, and like you have to like switch that side of your brain on for a second sometimes when you have to speak Polish, right? And
oh yeah,
and you make, even though he's speaking English still, it makes you think that same thing exists when he's because he's not really speaking English anymore. He's speaking Australian.
And it's a little different.
Well, and also for me, working in, video production and like how everyone expects captions and subtitles these days, and then you learn that slang from languages is one of the most hard things to translate because, like, for example, in the US even, or in American, we say that news can be heavy, and yet it's not physically heavy. It doesn't like weigh more than other news. Literally, it's not heavier that way, but it's just more of a descriptive adjective. And those are some of the hardest words to translate from language to language. All right. Well, we are a World Baseball podcast, as we like to say here over at the Kanika Sports Show. So thank you for joining us here on this Monday episode. With that, we will see you on Wednesday for our special Cubs-Dodgers post-game wrap-up from Tokyo. Until then, have a great start to your week, everybody. Adios.
They're singing, go, Cubs, go!